That's great. That's great.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 15 of the Tell Me Something Great podcast. I am your host, Justin Yates. Welcome to the show. How's it going? It seems like it's been some time since I've done this because it's been a couple weeks, but that's cool. So this is pretty crazy. Let's start off today's podcast with a few things. So this morning, I woke up to receiving some awesome fan art. Take a look at the screen really quick. This was sent to me by a younger fan named Kyle, and I love getting little stuff like this. It really makes my day. I'm lucky enough to have a younger audience as well as an older audience too. And every once in a while I get a little gem like this in my inbox, and man, it makes me smile. And then I woke up to like 5 merch orders in my inbox, which was great. It's always nice to be selling merch right now since I'm trying to fundraise. But then I got the news that the high school literally, like 3 blocks away from me is on lockdown right now because there's an active shooter at the school. And that's crazy. I don't know what to say and or what to do about that. I actually have a couple students that go to that school, so I'm a little kind of shocked, and my heart goes out to them. I kind of want to run to the school and do something to help, but you know, everyone's being advised not to do anything. I can hear a bunch of helicopters overhead. Is that the right term? Overway? I don't know. Crazy morning though. Crazy morning. My heart goes out to everyone that's there. I hope that gets resolved quickly and everyone's okay. If I get any updates by the time I end this podcast, I'll definitely let you guys know. But that's how my morning's been going. It's been kind of nuts. Today, while I'm doing this podcast, I'm actually live streaming in the Street Team group on Facebook. And I might pop over to Instagram eventually. We'll see. I'm trying to do as minimal edits as possible today with this podcast because I am behind schedule. Last solo podcast, I was telling you guys that I've been battling depression and a bunch of other stuff, but I'm staying focused. I'm kicking butt. These last 2 weeks have actually been pretty good, actually. I haven't spoken to that therapist at all. Truthfully, I got a little bit, I don't want to say frustrated, but the last time I spoke, or the last meeting that I had with this person, it was just not really worth the money. So I might keep looking around for other people to speak with. It's not that the person had bad suggestions. I don't know. I don't really like people making assessments and telling me a lot of things without knowing the situation. I find it to be a little insulting, but that's kind of my own problem. So speaking of craziness, this whole week has been pretty nuts for, well, really everyone I know. It pains me a lot to say this, and I don't even know where to start with this, but I thought it was worth mentioning because my heart goes out to my cousin Daniel and his family and everyone connected. But long story short, on October 18th, there was kind of like a freak accident that happened in Illinois. So on October 18th, this kind of freak accident happened. My dad's brother's son, Daniel, who lives in a town, I believe it's Zion, Illinois, or it's Zion, Illinois. He lived with his wife and his 2 young daughters. And on October 18th, apparently, speaking of another gun-related something, apparently there was some sort of gang activity happening near their home, and a bunch of stray bullets occurred. I'm not exactly sure how to say it, but one of the stray bullets actually passed through the house and it struck Daniel's wife, Melanie, in the head. And she was pronounced dead within a short time after. And it is definitely a freak accident. And my heart goes out to all of them. It's one of those things that you would never think would happen. And it's really hard to put into words. And I can only empathize or try to sympathize. I can't empathize with that. I've lost loved ones, but not under those circumstances. So I try my best to try to sympathize with his situation, and it's pretty heavy, to say the least. They made a GoFundMe page to take care of, all the funeral costs and all of the stuff that's connected with it. And I'm really happy to say that in a very short amount of time, they've raised well over $100,000, and it's amazing. It's pretty amazing to see so many people come together to show that type of support when something so, I don't even know the word to describe it, when something so insane has occurred. My heart goes out to his daughters and to him, and I wish him, all the strength through this hard time. And I know that Daniel comes from a very strong religious-based family, and I hope that he can turn to those things in these times, and I hope that it helps. As I mentioned, I've had my fair share with death over the years, but that is definitely something that I can't even wrap my head around, and I don't know what to say. Truthfully, I have yet to reach out to Daniel, mainly because I almost don't know what to say to him in this time of need. And I know right now this is intense, and he's got a lot of immediate family there, and I just wish him the best, and I hope that they can all come together, because I know he's going to need it. So, though we may have started off on a down note, I did say that I actually have been doing a little bit better this week, and that has to do a lot with staying busy and just staying productive. And despite everything else that's going on, I'm just trying to hyper focus as much as possible. Working out again this week. I haven't used weights yet. I'm just kind of getting into the calisthenics and moving my body around, basically. I always feel like it's one step forward and two steps back, but I'm staying focused as much as I can, and every day I'm working on it. I started rehearsing more frequently. My rehearsals have been so bad recently that I've been continuously booing myself off the rehearsal stage just to get my mind in the right place. That, dude, you gotta step it up here, buddy. And I've been trying my best. My practice regimen is split into a couple different things. So part of it right now is just warm-ups, basically just trying to get my hands and my arms ready. And the tendinitis plus a broken hand, I can tell that my hands have taken some significant time off. And it's going to be interesting to get back to the same stamina that I had and the same dexterity, if that's the correct terminology. I can feel it already, that it's tough, but after a few days, I'm feeling pretty good. But my schedule is basically broken up between warm-ups, practicing live songs, and then rehearsing what I need to do for the studio. And that entails a lot of different things. Now, right now, we're on episode 15, and my plan is to end season 1 around, I don't know, maybe episode 20, 22, something like that. And near the end of season 1, I'm going to tell you guys everything that I'm doing as far as this music and everything that's included with it. But I'm going to keep that until as close to the end of season 1 as I possibly can. I'm a fan of secrets, and I think it'll make for a really good podcast to really dive in and explain to you guys what's going on. Little by little, I'm releasing information, but I like a good surprise just as much as anybody else. Did you hear that pop? That was my elbow. Ow. So stay tuned because there's still a lot to disclose about this music. So last week I went back to the orthopedic surgeon. As you just heard, my arm popped. My arm has been in this really weird place. As some of you may or may not know, I broke my hand because I'm an idiot. But on top of that, I have tendonitis. And recently it's been flaring up and has been a really huge problem. I went and got an MRI done, and they said, yeah, you've got some damage going on, but not so much damage that your tendon is ruptured or anything of the sort. Basically, you have to do a bunch of physical therapy, live on muscle relaxers, and just be careful because eventually it will blow out. So I'm in this weird limbo stage. And what's odd is that if I turn the clock back about 3 months ago, my arm was hurting, but it felt better than it does right now because there was a certain level of stimuli. I was rehearsing a lot more. I was working out a lot more, and there was enough like blood flow and enough movement to keep it stimulated. Well, since the hand happened, since I was in the hospital, since all this other stuff happened, I haven't been rehearsing. I also haven't been working out because I don't want to flare the arm up. And believe it or not, the arm is still very much hurting. So much so that I went back to the orthopedic surgeon last week. I got another cortisone shot because I couldn't take the tension in there anymore. And it actually released a whole bunch of tension, which is cool. I had him change the anti-inflammatory I'm on because I've been taking one for a while and I just don't think it's doing anything. So I had them switch that up. I'm going to try that for a little bit. Part of me just kind of wants to abandon that whole, I don't know. I don't want to abandon every pharmaceutical because I do get benefits from some of them, but the anti-inflammatory route, it doesn't seem like it's helping as much as if I was to get an anti-inflammatory injection continuously, opposed to taking pills numerous times a day for years. Nevertheless, they did the shot in my arm. It felt better. It's felt better all week. I can feel it kind of waking up, I guess you could say. And it's been feeling good, but I'm trying to go as slow as humanly possible with all this because once I go to the studio, I'm just going to be putting my arm through the grinder. Once I get on the road too, if I can get on the road, that's going to be hell on my arm as well. So it's pretty tough. I know I've mentioned the pitcher analogy before, so for those that have been listening to every episode, I won't repeat myself, but if you don't know what a relief pitcher is, do a Google search really quick, and that's kind of my situation right now. If you guys watched either part 1 or part 2 of the Siam interview I did, Arthur in the video tells me about a physical therapy tool called the Flex 10. And I actually just picked up one of those, and it is the weirdest device ever. But even after using it only a few times, it seems like I could instantly feel something going on. So I'm really excited to use that more and more because I have a bunch of little tools for physical therapy outside of stretching and some other remedies, but nothing is helping too much. And apparently this physical therapy tool is highly recommended. So I'm really excited to try it out and see if I can get any kind of benefits before my arm blows out. Take a look at the screen really quick and I will flash a picture of the Flex 10 right now. Podcast season 1 will only be around 20 some odd episodes. Like I said, we've talked about the new music I'm working on, all 3 songs, working with Dustin, and that I'm taking a way different approach this time. And it's going to be a different approach, but I think you guys are really going to like it. Speaking of new music, one thing that really got me pumped this week was proof that human beings aren't as horrible as sometimes we think they are. And the power of the internet can still surprise you. So, again, I don't want to disclose every bit of information, but I think this is something worth talking about. And yeah, so I think we should start by talking about my love for the show Moral Oral. There's so many things that I love about that show, but one thing that I have a very huge appreciation for is stop motion animation. It takes a lot of detail to pull that off. It takes a lot of dedicated hands, and it takes a lot of time. it's one of those art forms that's only done when someone has a really big love for it. The amount of labor and time that goes into it is so huge that a lot of people don't want to do it anymore. And there's so many things that are done on the computer that it does seem a little, I don't know the word, not like a waste of time to do it, but it seems like there's smarter and faster ways to do it on a computer opposed to doing more traditional stop motion animation filming techniques. When I was younger, I used to watch Gumby and a lot of other stop motion animation shows, and I always had a love for it. And the story of Moral Orel is amazing, and I really enjoy it, but the fact that it is stop motion animation is something that I always enjoyed. And for this new batch of music that I'm working on, part of me wanted to do something stop motion. Truth be told, I just wanted a reason to work with David Tuber. But as I'm getting this music all together, I reached out to David, and he is beyond busy and working with much bigger teams and much bigger budgets that I can't match right now. So he's a little tied up. But the idea of still wanting to do something stop motion was in the back of my head. And I'd say, I don't know, maybe about six months ago, I made a post on Facebook in some random local filmmaker group. And I didn't explain any of my ideas. I didn't really elaborate on what the idea was for. I made a little introduction about myself, but that was about it. So I put this small post online basically saying, "Hi, I'm Justin Yates. I play guitar. I'm looking to do a music video, and I have a few ideas that relate to stop motion. I don't know if it's possible to do it because what I have in mind has a lot of moving parts, but I'm trying to find some help. Let me know if you could help." And that was pretty much the entire post. I didn't mention anything about what the music sounded like. I didn't mention about any of the details I had in mind, any preliminary storyboards or anything of the sort. And I actually got a message from somebody, and right now we'll leave his name off of this, but I got a message from somebody, and they basically said, "Hey, I like stop motion animation also. I'm a really big fan of it, and I've actually done some of it in my career. I'm curious to know more about the job you're working on. Stop motion animation is usually something that not everyone chooses to do, so you've piqued my interest." And we had a bunch of back and forth. And it turns out that this guy works in the industry, so he's extremely busy. He also has 2 younger kids, one of them under the age of 6 months, so his schedule is just insane. But we did some back and forth, and a few weeks ago, he told me, "Hey, I've got a little bit of an opening. Send me what you got on the song. Send me, more information, and let's look into this." And I did, and we had a Zoom call, and we talked about what I kind of had envisioned, what we would like to do, and then what is actually possible. And through some back and forth, I had to tweak the idea a bit, but not in a bad way. And last week, he was able to find a pocket of time, as well as we were able to rent a few pieces of gear. And I was able to go out to his studio, which is about an hour away from me. And we spent 2 days filming a new music video for one of the songs that will be included on this batch of music. And I could not be happier with what happened. I was shocked that he wanted to help. His portfolio was astounding. I don't know if I can mention some of the names, but he's got a lot of different clients, and he's got a lot of really good work. And though we only had a little bit of time, he came with a bunch of fresh ideas. I really followed his lead the first day and just tried to help as much as I could, but I wanted to give him as much control. He provided the camera and the lens and a few other things. Like I said, we had to rent some stuff, but he provided a Red camera, which was awesome to use. I'm not exactly sure the model of it, but the camera was great. I could probably sit and ramble about that for some time. That was amazing. I've never got to use one of those before. I've been in shoots that have used them, but I've never been the one behind the camera. So that was actually a lot of fun to operate one of those. It also had a Loa 28 millimeter probe lens, which I know might sound like Greek to a bunch of you, but let's just say that this lens is really cool. And it gave us the opportunity to do some really interesting shots. And yeah, the footage is in 4K. It's shot with a great camera with a great lens. We got a bunch of different potential scenes. All the footage is sitting here. It's huge. I've got to go through it. It's going to take some time. But yeah, we kicked some major butt, and I am really happy, and I can't wait to dive into editing and show you guys this. It's going to be, it's going to be a long, long time before this is out, but it's going to be good. It's going to be really good, and I am beyond happy to report that. I hope you guys can hear the tone change in my voice this week, but I'm stoked. Staying busy, working, getting things done, selling merch, trying to stay positive, trying to stay focused. It's what's keeping me afloat. It's what's kept me afloat for a long time. So I'm glad to, when things have been a little bit stressful lately, kind of go head first into what I know best and really kick some butt this week. That goes for almost every facet of the music that I'm working on. Like, rehearsals have gone really good. I've been hyper focusing on the parts, trying to just lock in all these little potential parts. And I still have a bunch of questions and a bunch of potential ideas, and I got to bring those to Dustin. But right now I have to shift my focus because I have to prep some other stuff for Dustin. It's a lot, but it's long story long, it's coming together, which is great. Another thing that happened this week that's really, really exciting is another box update. The merchandising and packaging side of what I'm working on is moving ahead at a speed that is ridiculous. And it's funny because just like the prop idea from that lady in Bolivia to this music video idea to these songs to all this, it's just, they're these really small ideas that I've been slowly but actively working on, and they're all coming together and is really exciting. And the packaging thing, like I've been talking about for the past couple podcasts, has definitely come together this week. I've gotten a bunch of high-res images sent to me that I'm trying to use with the packaging, and it looks cool, but we're doing some back and forth trying to get it dialed in. I've recruited another designer to come on board who has a little bit more experience than I do with professional packaging, and they've agreed to help with a few different things as well too. So that's great. It's one less thing I don't have to be burdened with, and it's one less thing that I need to spend another 2 months trying to learn. I'd much rather hire someone at an affordable rate. It's win-win with everyone, and he's excited to jump on the job, and yeah, it should be really cool. I also got, I don't remember if I mentioned this in the last solo podcast, but I also got another component of the packages sent to me, and I don't want to disclose what it is, but let's just say my math was right, and I am so happy that my math is right. Everything came. It looks like everything's going to work out, and this was one that was a hard one to be able to kind of lock in, and I did it. So, yeah, I'm excited. Sadly, as of October 29th, we still don't have a Dexter Collection update sale. I am still working with the guy, trying to figure out money, finances, and all that fun stuff to get it done. It's a big sale, so I know that it's something he's got to work towards. I'm really looking forward to this because this is going to definitely be a gigantic chunk of the music cost right now. So That's why I keep talking about that and why I'm so thrilled. I've been selling a decent amount of merch lately, and people have been going above and beyond to share stuff online and basically just liquidate old merch and help me push the fundraiser bundles. No, I had some bigger fundraiser bundles online, but truth be told, I think they were a little pricey for my audience. So I broke them down to some smaller items, and I've been kind of parceling those out, if that's the correct term. And I was able to sell one of the monkeys this week to a very old fan named Kevin, which was awesome. I'm really happy he got that because I believe he missed out on the first run of them, and these prototypes are basically the only ones left. So I was happy he got one. Mega fan Sarah was able to pick up a beanie, which was really cool. In short, this type of stuff really, really helps. And this week, I've just been trying to push as much merch as I can, trying to pull in what funds I can. On the collection side of things, I did a couple live events this week. I did a Mail Monday, and we did an unboxing of a bunch of items that came in this week. Did some trades, facilitated some trades, got some stuff for the collection, pulled in some cheaper items from the bins, put those around for sale. Really trying to have the collection page self-sustain itself, which it's been doing for a little bit. But I'm almost putting that on the side right now because it does take a lot to facilitate that page. And I want to be able to focus and get these podcasts taken care of. I want to be able to get all this music and everything taken care of, and also just give my body the time that it needs to rest and really just focus up. It's been a rough couple months, but yeah. So I've been slowly working on the collection stuff, but it's been slowing down a little bit. This week, though, I definitely got some really cool items in. If you're not checking out the collection page, I'll put a link in the description of the video and check it out. Always getting some fun stuff here in the office. Trying to branch out a little bit. I've been actually thinking about if the world ever opens up, looking into some sort of commercial space. I think it would be really, really cool to be able to intertwine some of the stuff that I'm working on, but in a more official capacity outside of my office. It'd be nice to be able to pull in more people on a regular basis, have a facility that parents can drop their students off that is not tucked away in a neighborhood, things like that. So I've been thinking more about possibly getting some sort of shop or doing something. I don't know. I want to keep doing more with the collection. This podcast is proof of it, as well as many things posted on the page, but I still want to do more. And more doesn't mean branching out and reselling. More means, I guess you could say more just means more. And I'm working on what exactly that will be. I have no idea how long I've been talking for. When I first started putting music on the internet, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I had a very cheap setup, and I would just use my imagination and try to have as much fun as I can. And I recorded a bunch of songs. I put them on the internet, and they were kind of the first attempts at, what I'm been able to do for over 10 years now. I don't know how to say this. I hate the internet. I used to really enjoy it. I used to try my damnedest to build a really huge audience and constantly be working on it. And this was a long time ago, and I've had a lot of issues with it over the years, but I've definitely broken away from it, and I don't like it. I definitely don't like it like I used to, but I really don't like it now. But I find I'm between a rock and a hard place, because as much as I don't like it, it's something that I need to do. And I've mentioned this before. I've been thinking about wanting to do something metal related again, but I'm not really too sure. And I've been thinking in the back of my head, how can I do this? Like, do I join a band? What would be the right way? And I've spoken to Dustin and a few other people about helping with mixing and a few other stuff. But the more and more that I think about it, and the more that I have opportunities to do something bigger, and the more that I don't know, just the more that I think about it, the more that I keep thinking about MySpace. I keep thinking about some of those earlier internet days. when my MySpace Justin Shitty Riffs was Justin Shitty Riffs. It was nothing but me being a dork, just recording music, having fun, putting it online, and just really having a good time. And there's a part of me that thinks I want to lock myself in this office and do that again and just have fun and almost not even care about like how impressive the writing could be or how I want to market it or how it sounds sonically or, all these other elements. I've been really thinking about wanting to do something metal related, and I've been really thinking about the origins of what got me into all of this and what really brought me a lot of joy. And there's a lot. Unlike a lot of guitar players, it wasn't just one thing that brought me joy. It wasn't just my best friend that got me into playing. It wasn't this one guitar player that I was really into. It was so many things that got me into music. And I'm really thinking about, and I don't know if this is influenced by the collection page or maybe depression or what, but I'm really interested in getting back to that, making my office as comfortable as possible, making it feel like my bedroom was when I was younger. I feel like a lot of those years were robbed from me for a lot of reasons. And I know I'm chasing after something I'll never get, but I almost want to it feels like I almost want to re-synthesize that time to be able to go back to a place where my current state of mind and the current problems weren't what the problems were. And I was just making my shitty riffs, having fun with my guitar. And the more that I think about that, the more that I want to just go back to that and just write and just have fun making songs like that again. And it's going to be a hit with production. It'll be a lot more that I'll have to do, and my over-analytical behavior and mentality will definitely not help. There's no denying that whatsoever. But I don't know. Something is pulling me, making me want to go back to that time, even if it's as sad as that sounds. And it's weird because there's so much about those times that I would not want to go back to. How I felt, the people that I was with, just so much was bad. But writing music at that time was very enjoyable. It was very cathartic. I just got a lot out of it. I'd like to get back to that. I think I've lost sight of some of these things because I've had to lose sight because my priorities have changed. Because when you get older, you don't have, disposable time. You're caught up in this rat race, and you know what? I've been trying. I don't know if I want to do that anymore. I think I just want to stay in the bedroom as long as I can. So we're doing mail time on the podcast today. I just had a couple packages come in. The first one is actually a double. I've gotten this quite a few times. I usually just pick it up if I can on a good price, and then I'll usually hook up an older Outlaw Star fan. It is a 13-disc VCD set. Take a look at the screen really quick of the story of Gene Starwin. This one is pretty used. It looks like it's been sitting around for some time, but got it on such deals. I'm going to have to hit up a couple of Outlaw Star collectors and have to hook somebody up. All right, what do we got? We got another one here. I think this is actually a Playboy magazine. Hold on here. And what makes this Playboy cool is I think it's related to the American Dad collection, but hold on. That's how you open a package, with your teeth. So I've got a couple leads with the American Dad world, and some of them are with some of the animators that are actually still working there. And it took a little bit to track down, but there is this infamous American Dad cartoon ad in an old school Playboy, and I was able to track it down, is now I've got to find it. Hold on here. There we go. So this American Dad promotional ad, it's basically Francine on the bed and Stan's standing in front of her, and she goes, "I told you I'm not pledging allegiance to it." And it's a really funny ad. It's funny because like most cartoons in Playboy are really like crude. I mean, as crude as they can be for being in Playboy. But this one, they actually did a really good job with it. Like, there's no nudity. The way that it was written is really funny. And yeah, that'll be a nice little addition to the American Dad collection. If you're listening, take a look at the screen right now and I'll show a picture of the American Dad ad. I actually got a bunch of other really cool items in the mail this week. If you've been listening to the solo podcast, you'll know that I facilitated a trade with Nicholas for the Oral Died for Our Sins t-shirt. If you take a look on the screen right now, you can see it came in. It's beautiful. I'm beyond... Wow, I'm floored. This completes a gigantic crusade I was on, and now... Wow, I don't know what to say. Nicholas, I know you're happy with the trade, but I still owe you, man. This is awesome. I can't believe it came. I can't believe you found it. I'm floored. I'm very, very thankful. Thank you very much, buddy. I was actually able to acquire a double Masta Shake shirt. This one has a AAA tag. Super, super rare. Speaking of Moral Oral, I was able to find a custom-made Moral Oral Puppington pipe. And as you can see, the person who made this did an incredible job. One of the more interesting items that I got this week was a box from the UK. It was marketed as an Adult Swim rare collection, and that was it. As you can see on the back, it has a copyright of 2009. Now, this print is pretty familiar to me because it's been used on a bunch of USA releases. When I got the box, I originally wanted to get it for the Oral collection because, as you can see on the box, there's a bunch of images from Moral Oral. But I soon realized that it came with a bunch of different Region 2 DVDs, and most likely I'll sell and keep the box. But to my surprise, it also came with a book, which I'm led to believe that this item wasn't sold to the public, and this was given to different companies for advertisement purposes on Adult Swim before it was put out into the public. It's got a description in the beginning of the book that alludes to this information being true. And then there's also a breakdown of a whole bunch of the shows that are on Adult Swim. Each page has a small little bio about each show, about the synopsis of the show, key characters, show essentials, things of that nature. I was shocked to see this and really happy to add this to the Oral collection. The Adult Swim collection overall got a huge bump with this one. I hope you guys know what time it is. Oh yeah, it's time for some fan questions. We're going to dive deep today, get some questions from the internet. I love that intro song. Thanks, Edwin, as always. Oh, I love it. All right, we got a question here for the podcast. It says, do you have any interviews planned with any Adult Swim people coming up or anyone who you would like to interview like Adult Swim wise? Well, let me take a look at the podcast schedule. As of right now, 1, 2, 3, 4. There will be 4 interviews left in season 1. And in the sake of a good surprise, I can't tell you who the people will be, but I will say that one of them is related to Adult Swim in some capacity. So that's pretty neat. The one person that you guys know that I'll probably be doing an interview with is Dustin, the guy that I'm recording with. Most likely that'll be the last interview of the season, but there is 3 more that are in the can and will be out. So definitely look forward to that. I am really stoked for that one specifically, the one that's related for Adult Swim. I think you guys will like it. I definitely like it. You know, I like all the interviews that I've been doing, but there are a few of them that stand out as just, I don't want to say like dream interviews, but like, yeah, they're definitely up there. And that one is one of them. We got another question here. Could you do a vlog or something maybe of like the behind the scenes music stuff? What exactly do you mean? On my YouTube, I have a whole bunch of vlogs. I used to do it for a long time, but and a lot of that does have a lot of behind the scenes stuff. But it depends on what you're talking about. See, when I go to Dustin's studio, the part of that gold package includes a bunch of video work. But I'm thinking about bringing my own cameras to be able to film a behind the scenes of the recording process. But the problem with that is that I have to perform and I have to work. And then on top of it, I have to be my own camera crew. And my body is not in the best shape. And even when my body's in the best shape, it's broken. So I need to talk to a few people who are in the area and try to find some help in that regard. All right, we got a random comment in the chat right now, and it says, I always see your stuff when it pops up on YouTube. I'm glad it pops up in my notifications. Sometimes things don't. Well, that's sweet. Ring that bell and like and subscribe and tell your grandparents and, yeah, tell all your clients, buy Justin's music. I appreciate you following it. I really, really do. I am a very, very small fish in a very, very big sea, so it helps more than I can express, let me tell you. So I just got a question via Instagram, and someone asked me, who is my favorite guitar player? And that's a really hard question to answer. Unlike a lot of guitar players, I wasn't one of those people who fell in love with a guitar player and got infatuated with them. And I think a lot of guitar players are like that. And you meet them all the time. You know, you meet people who you can see idolize Metallica and idolize like Steve Vai and just all these other, you know, guitar legends. Oh, God, I can't believe I just said that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of like flashy and good guitar players out there that do a lot of cool things. But I think the stuff that I gravitate towards now is a little bit less flash and more tasteful writing and really good execution. For example, and I know a lot of people give me grief for this, but I really like John Mayer's playing because he can do a lot of these guitar shreddy, wanky things, but he chooses to do them in an interesting and fun way, which is nice. I really like the acoustic guitar player Andy McKee and a lot of other players who are similar to his style of playing. I just think it's beautiful. But there's so many players I enjoy for so many different reasons. It's hard to pick just like, you know, my favorite guitar player. I think right now, currently, the players that I'm looking at the most, I think, is the main guitarist for a band named Misery Signals. I've been doing a lot of looking into a lot of their catalog and just looking into a lot of their older songs and studying his guitar work. I'm always infatuated with Chris Thiele. I just really like his compositions. Some of them I'm not a fan of, but a lot of them I'm a fan of. He plays so many different instruments. It's crazy. But recently, I'm trying to think of who I've really been getting into and really enjoying a lot. And let me just do this. I'm going to pop over to my YouTube really quick, and I'm just going to look at my history, and let's see if there's any consistency going on. You know, I can't say this. When growing up and even into my later years of guitar playing, one player that did stand out to me a lot over the years was Marty Friedman. That's definitely somebody that, yeah, definitely stood out to me. He was one of those people that was unbelievable at what he did, and he was a great shredder, but he was always bringing something different to the table. His uses of unison bends and some crazy stuff and some of the shreddy music he would do back in the day was always a delight. I always really, really enjoyed that. Even the stuff he was doing in Japan, though overall it wasn't my cup of tea. I just always kind of like enjoyed him. Guitar players recently, Pliny, really enjoying that. I think that's really cool. The guitar playing in era is very enjoyable, very melodic, very, very cool. Maybe Michael Keane if that's how you pronounce that. Well, we'll end on that one because I can name guitar players all day long. It's the guitarist for the band The Faceless. Yeah, Michael Keane. I don't know. The Faceless is a band that I listened to for a long time, and there's a lot of their music that doesn't really jive with me because I think it's more of pressing on the progressive side of things. But man, those first two CDs, Planetary Duality, and I can't even pronounce their first one. It's like a Kaldama or something like that. It's got an Autopsy and a few other really good songs on there. I think Ghost of a Stranger's on there, I think. But his guitar work on those first two albums are really, really cool. And I've been listening to that for not only years, but listening to that a lot recently, which is odd. It's odd. I play like pop music, kind of pop music. And one of my biggest guitar influence lately is a death metal guitar player. It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, clearly this is something I could rant about all day. There's so many different attributes of so many different players that I find to be just very enjoying. And it's not, I know I'm mentioning a bunch of like metal names and like I'm mentioning a bunch of metal bands and very technically proficient musicians. But I'll be honest with you, over the years, that flash wore off. I mean, somebody like Michael Keane is amazing at what he does, but in the same sentence, I can look at somebody like Sean Watkins from Nickel Creek, who, if you look at This Side, which was their Grammy Award-winning song, it's like a 6-chord song. You know what I mean? And it's not all about that technical proficiency or how complicated something is. It's not. It's cool. I mean, I think it's really interesting for what it is, but I think that there's a space for all of this. And that's, I don't know, that always catches my ear, that there's guitar players that can captivate you with 2 or 3 chords, and there's guitar players that can literally shred your face off. And I get something from all of it. And so it's really hard for me to just say like one favorite guitar player. There's just so many. It's very true. Somebody in the chat right now says it's not about the notes you do play, but about the notes you don't play. And that is true. Space in songs are huge. There's nothing wrong with a song being constantly blasting at you, or 16 notes or 32 notes going off all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. And it could be any kind of genre of music. But I can tell you firsthand, from being a person who played metal music for years, who's trying to make the most complex measure, you know what I mean? Taking the most music that I can and slamming it into a measure to make the most complicated stuff possible. When I started writing songs, I started to understand the power of less is more, and started to understand that space there has a really important place, not only for other instruments to breathe, but it also gives the listener time to digest. And I think that that's a big thing. Sometimes people think that when you're composing a song, you don't want people's minds to wander. You want to take their attention the entire time. And sometimes it's good to give them a little bit of space to let something marinate. I've heard a lot of people hear certain types of songs where it's so much coming at them that they're just like, well, this is overload. I need to listen to it like 20 times before I just get it all in. And then you have certain songs where literally there's just like one line of the song repeated over and over and over and over again. And the impact of that song may be more impactful than something with, a very verbose or, you know what I mean, like 9,000 words. So, the saying that he wrote in the chat here, it's about the notes you don't play. It's like, yeah, sometimes less is more. It definitely can bring a lot to the table in many, many different ways. And I think that's the problem, not only with music, but with so much stuff, is the flash, the glitz, the glamour, the whatever. If it's busy, if it's full, if it's whatever, that means it's good. It's not always the case. You know what I mean? Like if you go to the store and you buy a gift basket, I mean, who goes to the store to buy a gift basket? That's the worst fucking metaphor ever, but whatever, we're using it. So if you go there and it's filled with a whole bunch of stuff, you're like, whoa, this is filled with a whole bunch of stuff. It's good. It's worth my money. It's filled. Kind of like if you went to a shop, you went to go to a grocery store and you filled up your whole cart for $50 and it's filled with all kinds of stuff. But when you go home, I mean, if it's just filled with bags of potato chips, it's just fluff. It gives the illusion that it's full of nutrients or depth, but it's not at all. Sometimes, you could fill that whole grocery cart up with bags of chips, you know what I mean? But the nutritional value in that compared to one piece of meat that only fills up that small cart, it's staggeringly different. Though to most people, they would be like, but this is more. I have more in this, so more must be better. This is the worst analogy ever, but I hope you understand what I mean. Like sometimes people get caught up with one thing and they lose sight of what the other thing possesses. And since it's not as much, or it looks different, or it's less, or whatever it is, it's then devalued because it's not as much or as whatever as this other thing is. It's like, but the other thing is fucking trash. You know what I mean? You're just accustomed to thinking that it's more. Like the age-old thing of like quantity versus quality. You know what I'm saying? And I know I'm kind of going on like a tangent here on this point, but I think sometimes people lose sight of some of this stuff, and the flash doesn't help. I mean, you could take this all the way back. I mean, we'll take this back to just the guitar player world. Look at a guitar player like Yngwie. Now, there's a lot of people who would disagree with me, but Yngwie is trash music. The dude is a trash can, literally, and his music sucks just as bad. And like, is he playing a million notes a second? Sure. Is he doing everything else that every other shredder around him did? Yeah. The way that he executes it is poor. The way that he carries himself is poor. Just everything about it is just fluff, flash. It's like a bag of Doritos, man. It just looks cool. It might look cool. I mean, it doesn't look cool now that he's like 90 pounds overweight and skin-tight plastic, still wearing the same Rolexes, but you might get the point. And even back then, when people heard the music, they were like, oh my God, this guy's shredding classical guitar, classical pieces on an electric guitar. And like, oh my God, this is so crazy. But it's not. It's not that crazy. They just get caught up with the glitz and the glam of it. And even back then, people could see through it. And there's a reason that people, talk about great guitar players of that generation. And Yngwie's name might come up, but it's not the first. And he might be faster than all those guys and more technical than all those guys. So that shit don't matter. At the end of the day, it don't mean anything. And I'll take this back full circle again when we're talking about favorite guitar players. If you look up somebody like Marty Friedman, just look at the solo he did in Megadeth's Holy Wars. Some of the bends that he puts in there, some of what some players would call emotion, a lot of characteristics, interesting phrasing. It isn't just, here's my solo for 8 measures, and I'm just going to play as fast as humanly possible and as crazy as humanly possible. And, oh, everyone's doing this type of playing? Okay, so I'm going to do this type of playing the whole time, and I'm going to do this, hot thing or whatever. Oh, everyone's like doing the Tom Morello. We're going to pull the cord out and tap it on the string to make some Nintendo noise. Oh, I got to do that. Nah, man. He wrote what sounded cool. What was cool to him. What gave the song something cool. And that, might have not been the most technical. Might have not been the most whatever. But people still talk about Marty Friedman this day as arguably one of the greatest shredder guitar players. And there's a reason. They don't talk about Yngwie like that. And there's a reason.